Welcome to the new automation mindset where AI, automation, and integration come together. Successful automation is so much more than technology, it's a mindset. On this podcast, we're here to learn about this mindset from innovative leaders who actually practice it every single day. From Fortune 500 companies to the boldest startups, these leaders have reduced cost, crafted experience, and fueled growth with automation. They have transformed their companies and their careers. I'm your host, Markus Zirn, and as Chief Strategy Officer and part of the founding executive team at Workato, it is my mission to find these top innovators in AI, automation, and integration and share their journeys with all of you. You may notice that this show matches the title of the Wall Street Journal and USA Today best-selling book, The New Automation Mindset by our Workato CEO, Vijay Tella. You'll hear references to the key ideas of this book, the growth, process, and scale mindsets throughout the show. If you'd like to explore them further, be sure to check out the book in hard copy or on Kindle. All right, so for today's episode, I welcome Kerrie Jordan. Kerrie is the Group Vice President of Product Management at Epicor. And maybe even more importantly, she's actually a fellow podcaster with her Manufacturing the Future podcast. So it's a first for me with a fellow podcaster here on the episode. So I'm really excited. But let's maybe start here, Kerrie, with helping people understand about Epicor. I mean, you guys are obviously a big software company, provide lots of different products to a specific industry. Tell us a little bit about Epicor, what you guys do. Let's start with that.
Yeah, thanks, Markus. This is great to be on your podcast, as you mentioned. So thank you so much for the invitation. And it's great to have a chance to chat with you and to chat with your listeners. So Epicor is over $1 billion. We are a software provider for the make, move, sell economy. So what that means is we serve industry productivity solutions such as ERP, such as e-commerce, business intelligence, configure, price, quote, and many other type of solutions for manufacturers, distributors, those in the building supply industry, retail, and the automotive aftermarket space. And this is important because we are very focused on our industries. And what we bring to the table is strong industry expertise, a really deep understanding of these organizations, the challenges that they have, and what kind of solutions that they need in their business to solve these difficult problems. So we're essential providers to the world's hardworking businesses that really keep the world turning, and that is very important to us. So as I mentioned, we're over $1 billion. We're located in Austin, Texas. We're a global provider of ERP solutions. We have over 4,000 employees and locations around the world. And Epicor, a big part of our value that we offer to our customers is an open and connected product portfolio when it comes to our applications. So what that means is, even if Epicor doesn't have a solution that solves these customers, we have the connectors, thanks to the work that we do with Workato, in order to enable that connection and the automated workflows. So that's who we are in a nutshell.
And then I heard that you guys are a leader also in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for, is it cloud ERP for product-centric enterprises? So you a leader in that, and you really, from what I understand, you provide almost like a full end-to-end suite for these manufacturers. Like, I mean, it includes the ERP, it can include CRM, it includes e-commerce and HR and supply chain. I mean, the whole 9 yards.
That's right. End-to-end portfolio. That's right. And yes, we are so proud to have been honored as a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for product-centric ERP, for cloud ERP. So yes, we are so lucky to have achieved that. It was a lot of hard work, and we're very proud of that recognition by Gartner. So yes, and as you mentioned, an end-to-end solution for these industries spanning really, quote to cash type of business processes.
Awesome. Yeah, look, I'm very excited. So typically on these episodes, we talk to companies and how they use Workato and automation internally. This episode is a little special because you guys are a fellow software company, right? And really the way we look at it is kind of like Workato as an embedded play, which really, if you think about, is kind of like the Intel inside. It's like we're kind of like the chip that fits into your offering. So really to talk about automation and what it means to you. And then also, I think what's also interesting, like a specific industry. So we're really focusing today on automation in the context of like manufacturing, distribution, and so on. Kind of like, I guess, what the heartland of the US is all about, what I think we all need more of to kind of build out that manufacturing industry. So I think that's what makes this interesting. So you talked about being open, working with other solutions together. Tell me a little bit more what that means typically when you talk to customers, from the manufacturing industries. Maybe you can also share a little bit what are typical scenarios that they run into, what that actually is meaningful. Let's start with that.
Absolutely. So when we're working with organizations, as I mentioned, I'm within the product management team, and we're working really closely with customers, and we're constantly, and this is the best part of what I do, really working with them to understand their business problems and then creatively work together to solve them. And a lot of times when we're working with these organizations, it is because they have acute business pain that has to do with a particular part of their business, that if they could leverage data from other parts of their business to help solve for, if they could surface up insights, if they could create some automation within their business to solve for, then we could really help them. So examples would be, say we're working with a manufacturing organization and they're a global organization and they have to manage, let's say, foreign exchange rates. So that could change very often, right? But if we are working within a solution to automate updates within the financial solutions, then that very quickly starts to eliminate some of the manual work that they have to do on a daily basis. Say they have a customer system where they're managing accounts and contacts, and that's not currently residing within their ERP information, but they don't want to have to go through the manual updates, of entering the information in one system and then, the other, where they could just have it be a automatic update if that's something that they would want. So when we're working with our customers, it's typically from the business perspective. What are some of the business challenges that they're looking to solve? What are some of the outcomes that we can help create for them to really just get them back in the business of manufacturing or distribution so they don't have to do that manual work?
Mm-hmm. No, this is a great one. I think what's interesting in all this is that when we talk automation, obviously what Epicor does, right? When you have your ERP system or all the other modules that you offer, I mean, that's automation in a way. That's automating business processes, and you have workflow engines. I assume you have something like a Workato inside your products already in different products. I think what's interesting is really what Workato adds to is that automation gets extended in a way across where there might be gaps in a way, as data that doesn't reside in Epicor, maybe where the customer has built a custom application somewhere, or they picked, for whatever reason, they picked something else for CRM or something like that. I think that's where Workato almost creates it's like makes this boundary go away in a way where, like, now you can build a process that goes beyond Epicor into the other systems as well. Tell me a little bit, like, how does that? So obviously, Workato's there, that need for connecting and integration and so on. I mean, it always existed, right? Shifted a little bit with the whole cloud movement, I believe. But it always existed. How do you compare like what people do if there isn't any Workato? I think you call it in the Epicor world, it's not Workato, it's the Epicor Automation Studio, right? Powered by Workato. But yes. Tell me, so if like without the Epicor Automation Studio, what other choices would customers have?
Yeah, that's a great question. When it comes to being able to make connections, we did want to give customers options. So there are some things that they could do. But really, when it comes to ensuring that those integrations are going to be resilient whenever there is an upgrade, that they're going to be secure, that they're going to behave as expected, we do encourage organizations to look at this integrated platform as a service. And as you said, we did embed it within the application so that it's a much easier, seamless experience for customers. When you have a business leader that is looking to build this integration, they don't want to have to know and shouldn't have to know the very technical details. Rather, it could be a recipe-based drag and drop type of experience. And then what that does is it democratizes access to automation. It allows for so many more opportunities. And what we see as, we've moved to the cloud, organizations have a lot of choices that are available to them. And I think that's what's so unique and really special about when you move to the cloud, you have this modern platform, this great technology that's available for you to work with so that you can bring on the latest and greatest applications. And there usually is a recipe or an industry template already built. And that's part of what we add to our solution as well. We will work with our customers to understand what they need to achieve and then create these industry templates so that it's a very easy drag and drop, plug and play. You get in, build that connector really quickly, and then you off to your back to your business. So when it comes to the options that are available, there are quite a few, but we definitely encourage this Automation Studio. And, it's actually growing by the sheer ease of use, because it really is an easy to use platform. And, just inherently organizations are looking to leverage that rather than other applications because, other applications can be fairly complex. That's not to say that Automation Studio will fit everything. There are some, special cases, and having options available to our customers as Epicor was really important to us. So that's one of the reasons why we see there are these other options available.
No, totally. I mean, look, it's really interesting what we see out there with software companies. There's a wide spectrum, right? I mean, there are some companies that obviously recognize that there needs to be connectivity, but then what they provide is almost a completely built out a connector to, let's say, a connector to Salesforce, right? But then it only works one way. You can turn it on or you can turn it off, and there's really nothing you can change. And often, at least it's our experience, is that it's not cutting it. It's almost like if you, like an enterprise manufacturing customer probably wants to make some tweaks, just like when they deploy Epicor, they probably want to configure it to run their business. If you go on the completely other side of the spectrum, a lot of software companies say like, hey, look, we got an API, you're covered, you can connect now, go and do your custom development. It's not our thing. I think I'm very happy that you're recognizing that or kind of going that way, is that you're saying like, it's got to be somewhere in the middle, right? It's got to be easier than just custom development with an API. But at the same time, I have to give my customer the opportunity to configure that. Does that make sense? Is that in line with how you guys think?
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, as you said, there could be the custom developed API. And a lot of organizations have very complex integration requirements. And what we've seen over time is as organizations are moving to the cloud, they want to be able to move faster. They want to be able to uptake the latest and greatest innovations and then get back to business. So by, standardizing many of these approaches, by creating these reusable templates, reusable builders or recipes that you can, configure to match your business processes, they're able to move much faster. And, that is so important in the manufacturing space. You have to be able to move very quickly and take into account multiple types of, different productivity requirements and quality. So very important that we keep our organizations moving very quickly.
Yeah, what's interesting is, we come from the integration world. And the integration world, the old traditional integration world, was that you had to be very specialized to do these integrations. You kind of had to be like a Java developer or C# developer. You had to really, you almost had to pick that as your full job, right? There wasn't any extra time to do something else. You had to be the integration expert, and that's it. When we started Workato, our big idea was really to say, like, well, we don't think that is true anymore. With the making it easier to deploy in the cloud, and with this kind of movement of low code, no code, we can expand the group of people who can do these automations. That was deep ingrained in our vision of Workato. Now, what is interesting, and this is kind of where, talking to you as a big vendor of ERP and a software vendor, is at the very beginning, the application administrator was actually our target persona. We said, like, well, if we can take it from someone who just does integration all day long to someone who is able to configure an application, be it Epicor or be it Salesforce or something like that, I think if we have made that step, we've really accomplished something. I don't know how that feels. Is that do you see that it's almost like if you want to think about some of the Salesforce people looked at it and said, like, oh, Workato is like, this looks just like Process Builder, which is the Salesforce workflow engine, just that it goes across all my applications. I don't know what you hear from your customers, your users, these application administrators. Is that something, some of what you hear?
Yes, and I would also say that we've come to call our users citizen integrators. And that's because it's really open to anybody. Certainly the application administrator could be leveraging it, but we also see people like, the marketing director. Maybe they need to do connectors to an email automation platform, and they want to trigger emails every time that they're adding a new account or contact within their system. Just a simple use case like that. We also see many leveraging our connectors for e-commerce. So if they want to enable a new revenue opportunity within their business and take their business online. Perhaps they have a website on Shopify or BigCommerce or Magento, and they choose to connect to an existing account that they already have. It's really easy for them to leverage Automation Studio to do so. We also see organizations like, maybe large organizations with large fleets of delivery vehicles, and they have a transportation management system that they want to connect the Epicor solutions to. We can leverage Automation Studio powered by Workato to do that. So by enabling our citizen integrators, we're enabling the entire organization, the business leaders, not just IT, to be able to build those integrations, to manage the flow of data, to create really strong and compelling competitive advantages that they might not otherwise have had the opportunity to do so. So when we enable those citizen integrators, those that really have a keen understanding for how data is leveraged across the organization and how, better yet, it could be leveraged, then we're really taking our solutions to the next level for these industries.
This is so exciting. In our book, I don't know if you've seen the new book, the new automation mindset.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the one where really, we talk about the scale mindset, and it's really about, look, if you limit the people who can do automations to just a few IT coders, you will never get the benefits of automation. The full benefits, that is I think the example with e-commerce, I think, is a specifically interesting one, because that one, it is an integration, or it's an extension of the workflow from one product like your ERP suite to an e-commerce engine. But I think at the same time, it's so much more, right? Because it is almost a turning on a new business model, being able to now sell online. I mean, that's not a small thing. That's something I think the CEO cares about. I have a question about this one because this one, one other thing with automation and the manufacturing industry is a really good target here. Is if you hear the word automation, a lot of people automatically think of like robots. They think of the physical world, and they almost feel like, well, this is how you run a factory. It's used to be done by hand by workers, and now we just put a robot there. But the important thing is the robots do exactly the same task. They're just there instead of a person. In the book we talk about the growth mindset. We actually believe that this is, if someone defines automation just doing the same task just with a robot, we feel that's missing the point. And I think the e-commerce example is such a good one because it's not just doing the same thing. It's actually really extending the business model to doing something completely new through automation. I don't know how that resonates with you. I don't know how people in your industry, in the manufacturing industry, respond to the word automation and what that means.
Automation means so many different things to many people, and there definitely is value in not just connecting system to system, but also connecting system to things. And, as you mentioned, robotics actually is a very important element of an automation system. And, part of the reason that it means so much to manufacturers is actually twofold. One, because of talent. It still remains difficult to find, recruit, retain strong talent, qualified talent within the manufacturing industry. And so by being able to automate some of the more mundane tasks, you can focus that great talent that you have, your workforce, those people on your team, your greatest asset, on really those more strategic problems, the more high value aspects of your business. And I mean, that also is exciting work, for those individuals. And so that's the first area is talent. And then the second area that I think is so important when we're thinking about automation within the manufacturing space is health and safety of the workforce. By enabling automation on the shop floor, especially with robotics, you can automate those repetitive, fast, potentially dangerous tasks. So automation is very important. Again, not just from a system perspective, but a system to things perspective for many reasons. Talent and health and safety being primary.
Yeah, I think this is the cool aspect when automation, it lives in the IT world or, where the applications are, but then it does also live in the real world where the factory is and where actually things are being produced. And I think the ultimate end-to-end automation will be something that cuts across, that actually, goes to the IoT world or something. And it looks at data that you have about your customers in your CRM system, but it also looks across the data that you have in your manufacturing, your production systems, where the robots work. In fact, there's one customer we have over in Europe that built out what they call the product highway, which actually, I know you have a history also in PLM, right? So more the design aspect of manufacturing. But what they really wanted to build out is an end-to-end data process that starts with the design in PLM, product lifecycle management, and goes through the manufacturing stage, then goes through the, ERP stage where the orders happen and so on, but then also goes to the service, the field service aspect, because, that machine or whatever you produce, might have some service aspect to it, and leveraging the data from the design and the production all the way down in possible aftermarket support situations. I don't know if that does that sound like something that some of your customers might also be thinking about?
Yes, and it's exciting because what you're talking about there is workflow, not just automation, but orchestration, right? Because then you're taking it from different parts of the business, different functions, and really stitching together a seamless flow, a golden thread of that product data from the initial, conception of the ideas, talking through innovation, into the design phase, understanding what are the requirements in order to develop and build it, through manufacturing, through the build out and development, through launch, then taking the orders through to the end of life. I do love product lifecycle management. I'm glad you brought it up. I think it's such an interesting and dynamic part of manufacturing and many other types of industries as well. And definitely has, again, I think really strong implications for what we could potentially do with workflow automation or even orchestration.
Mm-hmm. I like orchestration. I like the word orchestration a lot. It might actually be the better word than automation, but automation people get, right?
Yes,
automation
that is true.
Is a term, so we don't want to confuse people too much. But I think technically, orchestration does actually describe what it is quite well. It kind of makes this point that it's not just moving data from one place to another, but it is actually putting all the pieces together. The one thing I'm curious about, we talked about the app admins and the industry. In the Epicor world, your consulting partners, they also play a big role, right? They're the experts that configure Epicor with your customers, that probably help your customers also get the most out of Epicor and really use Epicor maybe also to transform their businesses to a certain way. I was really pleased to see, like, at least I know of one of your consultants, Kerrie, Platinum Services. Like he seems very excited about what Epicor Automation Studio can do for your world. I'm just curious what you think. Are you hearing this? What do you think consultants will get out of this new possibility?
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. And great shout out to Kerrie and, so many of our partners who really do advocate for the value that Epicor brings. We're so lucky to have such an engaged and excited, vibrant ecosystem working with us. And you're right, there are great opportunities for organizations. So many of our consulting partners bring a lot of expertise to the business where they understand, very deeply because they've worked with these customers for so long or, are located, either, geographically close or, have really close ties to these businesses. And they know, again, just like the IT organization could know where the data resides and what could potentially be leveraged when you start to share data from system to system. And what are those potential outcomes that you can enable that would be true competitive advantages that without that sharing of data, you wouldn't be able to achieve otherwise. So this definitely creates really exciting opportunities for our partner ecosystem to create value for our customers and to do it quickly, rapid time to value, because there are these low code, no code, easy ways to interact with these integrations to really build out that connector or that workflow, as you're automating data from system to system.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you can take the app admin, right? And the app admin maybe now can do things that they couldn't do before because, they had to call another programmer possibly to use the API and do custom development. And then from what I hear is even if they know how to do it with Workato, or Epicor Automation Studio, gotta say it right here on the call. They can cut the time down. They can do things that would have taken months. I heard one example, Stephen Gold. I think there was Hannah at Stephen Gold who told us her story. She said, like, well, there one integration. It was a meaningful one. It was like, I think 40 different production sites. And they did an integration across them using Epicor and on multiple sites. And the project was cut from 3 months down to 2 weeks with Automation Studio, which I think that's great. But then for the consultants, I think what is really interesting is that in the old world, I think an application consultant, someone like Kerrie, he could configure Epicor, but then to do an integration, he might have actually had to bring in someone different, someone who is more like a developer, right, to do the integration, where now he can do the whole thing. And I think that provides superpowers. And I think that whole kind of driving innovation aspect, I think, is if someone has the superpowers, I think is more likely that you'll get to that innovation rather than you get too many people involved.
I agree. And I have to say, one of the things that we're very excited about, I mean, talking about lowering barriers to entry, is incorporating generative AI and being able to have a conversation with your systems about the types of data that you want to share. I mean, it's really exciting to see how simple it could be. You were talking about dragging and dropping recipe, but I mean, generative AI just takes it to a whole new level.
Yeah, so this is now where the fellow podcaster comes out, because you're reading my mind. I was just about to get there, but you got there first.
We have to talk about it.
It's 2023. It's 2023. We have to. I mean, we can't do a podcast and not talk about generative AI. That's cool. I'm actually curious. So what? Maybe let's just compare notes. I'm sure we're generative AI is really important to Workado. I imagine it's important to you as well. What are you guys thinking? Like so I speculate you have all, running product management there at Epicor. You got a roadmap of how like different generative AI aspects will get infused into your products. You want to talk about some ideas maybe?
Absolutely. Okay, but not divulging too much.
No, of course not.
We are really excited about the opportunity for generative AI. So we're partnered with Microsoft. We run many of our applications on Microsoft Azure. And so as part of that partnership, as soon as they launched ChatGPT-4, we were there. We were ready. We couldn't wait to start working with it. We were using ChatGPT 3.5 in our development organization to go ahead and test out some of the potential use cases. The way that we are approaching generative AI and the opportunity that it creates for our customers is very focused in on industry-specific value and use cases. There are a lot of opportunities for leveraging a Copilot-like experience, but what we really want to do is to understand what are the toughest challenges that our customers are facing every day that we could potentially leverage new technologies to solve. And generative AI opens up so many opportunities to potentially do that. And so we've identified quite a few of our customer partners that have agreed to co-develop and co-create with us, incorporating generative AI. Because what we don't want to do is just launch, a general tool. What we want to do is launch something that's really focused in on industry value. I talked about Epicor being partners of the Make, Move, Sell economy. Working really closely with our customers as partners has always been something that we've done. And especially within product management, we engage our cloud councils, our customer advisory boards, our product advisory boards. And this is another great example of the way in which we're innovating with our customers. And they've identified quite a few use cases. Some of them I think are pretty industry standard, and we're excited to incorporate them into our products as well. Things like product suggestions. When you are going through an e-commerce website and you choose one product, well, then the site automatically would surface up recommended other products that could either complement that product or could be, commonly purchased with it. Now, there are some specifics when it comes to our industries that we need to make sure that we nail when we're doing these kinds of use cases. And that is, many of them are regulated in their industries. And if they were to purchase, for example, within, piping and fittings, if you choose a fitting that doesn't exactly comply with one that you're purchasing, there could be legal ramifications for that organization. So we need to ensure that the suggestions that the AI is making is accurate and reliable. So that's something that we're working very closely with our customers who have agreed to co-create and co-develop with us, just as an example. there are other ways in which we're incorporating AI that we're excited about. Another one being as a knowledge assistant. So when you go into the vast library of documents, product documentation, knowledge-based articles, different videos and things, when you're doing training or onboarding on a product, so easy to just ask a natural language type of question and then have the generative AI return answer to you as to how you can leverage the training material. Oh, and by the way, there's a link to the source material for extra information if you'd like it. So that's another great way. Another way that we are incorporating generative AI is as a personal data analyst. So Epicor has acquired Grow. It's a business intelligence platform, and we're incorporating AI to do predictive analytics, but also to act again as that personal data analyst. So as you're thinking about, how many sales did I have over the past 3 years? Who is my top supplier? These are the kinds of things that you can ask through generative AI to a BI platform and have it generate recommended charts and, data tables. And then, just to kind of get you started. That way you could just interact with that data yourself rather than, requiring a data scientist or data analyst to do that for you. So those are just a few. There are several other ways in which we're looking to incorporate generative AI, use cases that span financials, supply chain, delivery, manufacturing, MRP. So there's just quite a few options, and we're excited to be bringing those to market here pretty soon.
No, that's great. That's great. And it's cool to see how everyone is infusing AI into their things. I mean, I wouldn't expect anything less, and that's great. What Workato is trying to do, we actually believe that combination of automation and AI is very powerful, as you know. I mean, you're in the same business. You within our ERP, that's exactly what you do. Again, we're doing it at the edges, wherever there's gaps to other things, we let people insert generative AI as well. You work with Microsoft, we work with OpenAI. It's the same model at the end of the day, right? It's ChatGPT. What we're doing, and I think Kerrie actually posted on LinkedIn about it. I mean, he quickly built something where, if a customer sends an email, might be support related or order related or something, he can actually analyze. In a Workato recipe, you can, basically take the email, look at it, run the ChatGPT model on it, and then do based on that assessment, do the right steps in Epicor. I think that's really exciting. I'm working at the moment with actually 2 distribution companies. That's one of your segments also. They don't manufacture anything themselves, but they're really good at managing the ordering process. And so there's lots of things putting Epicor, both of them are Epicor customers, by the way, and putting together, as you mentioned, I mean, this is no generative AI at the first place, but leveraging the data, leveraging the customer data to make decisions if inventory levels are low, like maybe which customer to prioritize, and so on. They're doing that in a Workato recipe as in between the ordering and CRM, leveraging that data. But then to bring generative AI in, they also said one of the things is that in order excellence is sometimes people order the wrong part. And so we talked about and came to the conclusion is let's give the customer an opportunity to just take a photo of the part and then let AI decide which part it is, or make a suggestion. And we're starting to work on that. Really excited about that. That's something that can be roped in Workato, and then at least Workato is also great to do experiments. As you said, we all don't know yet. We were at the very beginning of how this all could play out. I'm sure at the end, a lot of things will be in Epicor, but on the journey, maybe people will experiment on the edges with Workato and OpenAI. So I think that's a really interesting space.
Totally. And You mentioned that image recognition, and I think that is such an exciting use case, especially when we think about inventory management, being able to just take a picture and have the AI automatically generate counting. I mean, that is pretty incredible and saves so much time. So just a very simple example can really create some pretty exciting productivity gains, some efficiencies, and that's just, I think, the very beginning of so much that's to come.
Yeah, I think at the moment, most people, when they think of generative AI, they think of ChatGPT. They think, oh, I can do something in English, and I think that's true. There's a lot you can do. So, understanding emails, or basically, doing some research on something, 100%. But I think what people might be missing, where we'll get to needs a little time, is what else there is. Like, I think the image recognition is a really important one. There's so much cool things you can do. The other one you brought up with the BI. I don't know if you've ever used in a ChatGPT the advanced analytics capabilities that they have, where you can upload like spreadsheets and then enrich data and have them do correlation analysis. I mean, it's just next level. It's unbelievable, and so this might change the world of BI for forever.
I agree.
I don't think people get that just yet.
I totally agree. And I have to share with you my favorite use case that I'm so excited about having a Copilot-like experience for is email. Now I'm just speaking from myself. When you get an extremely long email thread and you have to first sigh and then start scrolling and read everything in order to get the full picture, the full history of what has happened, what needs to happen now. The exciting thing about ChatGPT and, Copilot type experience is to just have that whole thing summarized. That has to be the number one thing that I'm most excited about. So I don't have to go through that scrolling and reading of that entire email thread. That's me personally.
It's really funny. So I speculate that as part of your work, you read a lot of emails.
So many emails.
Right? So many emails. So we did a little workshop on AI, and it was so funny. People like you were brainstorming about what could be the biggest impact of AI on the company, and all the examples that people brought were almost like getting rid of their jobs. It's like, what if this could do everything I currently do? And my thinking was, okay, so what are you going to do then?
I'm going to take an early day off.
Take an early day off. That's right. I heard from one of my co-founders, the head of product, Gautam. He said, Markus, I think we finally found a way to replace you. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he said, like, with AI. With AI. Because his thing was like, I talk to customers a lot, and, I've been a head of product management just like yourself in my previous life. And so when I talk to customers, I typically would salespeople would fire off sales follow-ups. Typically, I send up a follow-up email to the product team also and say like, hey, I talked to this customer. What they really were looking for was this and that. I think you should think about this in your roadmap. He said, Markus, I think AI can probably send that email to us. You're right now the only one who does that, but AI, I think we can fix that now.
That might be. But I have to say, I think that there is still something magical about, that human perspective as to what really matters, especially when you're working with, customers and products and incorporating innovation. So, hey, I'm here to help you fight for your job. I think what you're doing is very important.
That's right. Yeah, I hope so. We'll see. Yep. We'll find out. Well, listen, I think this was a lot of fun. I really kind of think it's important for people to understand, right? We're almost like in the same game of automating. But I do think that Workato and kind of an automation platform can actually take existing business applications, just like yourself, and you know, also not just one, but multiple thereof. I think that example where the one customer had like 40 sites where they run Epicor, I mean, it kind of shows the complexity you got to deal with and the opportunity to exchange information and leverage data across. I think that's just very, very powerful. So, and AI will take it yet to another level. And again, also the democratization of getting more people into that game, thinking about this. I think that will take it to another level. So it's a bright future, I think, ahead of this for manufacturing companies and what they can do and how they can maybe fight off like all that Chinese manufacturing that's happening and so on. I think it's important for all of us, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty exciting future. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, so thank you so much for joining us for this episode today, Kerrie.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thanks, Markus. This was great.
Thank you all so much for tuning into today's The New Automation Mindset, where AI, automation, and integration come together. If you want to learn more about the key topics we've covered in the show, you can find them in the book, The New Automation Mindset by our Workato CEO, Vijay Tella. Also, leave us a comment and let us know what you thought of today's conversations. And don't forget to subscribe so you will never miss an episode. I'll see you next time.